Hey guys, in this video we are going to talk about customer returns. I know this is not a topic that any of us like to speak about. It sucks getting, quite frankly, getting items back that you wanted to sell, dealing with that loss, but it is a reality of this business, selling in, items in retail. It's reality in pretty much every industry. So you just have to take it. There's a certain percentage of your items that are always going to be returned, regardless, because there are people who just return things for whatever reason, and a lot of times it's simply because they didn't want it. It's simple buyer's remorse. They bought it, they thought they wanted it, didn't actually want it. Um, so we're going to talk a little bit about how that all goes on Amazon, and especially on FBA. If your items are FBA, Amazon's going to deal with a lot of that stuff for you. So I'm going to suggest that you be an FBA seller pretty much every step of the way in this video program. I harp on it pretty hard. It's a great system for your inventory. It really gives you an edge. There's really no reason not to do FBA in my mind. That is, if they'll accept your items. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But here's pretty much what happens. If a customer wants to return an item for whatever reason within, I think it's 90 days currently, they will just accept it pretty much for any reason, right? And when it comes back to them, they'll process it, and then within 30 days, you'll get it. Now, you'll just get it back in a bulk, package. So if you sell 100,000 orders in a month, then let's say 1% of those orders are returns, and they're going to end up coming back to you. Now, there's a bunch of fine print on these pages that I'm going to tell you about, but that's the gist of how it works. Okay. So there you go. Now, I don't want to just talk about FBA returns. I'm going to talk about general return policy as a whole. So when you have a return policy on your site, and when you have a return policy on eBay or anywhere else online, excuse me, what you want to think about is you want to give the buyer an impression that you are not trying to, quite frankly, get one over on them. You're not trying to sell them something new, and then say, "Oh, sorry, no returns accepted," because people think, maybe I want it, but then what again if I don't? I mean, there's a constant kind of battle there. So you want to have a really nice and liberal return policy, but not too liberal. You don't want to um, take back, for instance, generally, you don't want to take back buyer's remorse returns without a restocking fee. So if you bought it and you just don't like it, there's nothing wrong with it. There's really no reason for you to return it. Then hey, guess what? We're going to take 15% as a restocking fee. So you can do that. As far as days go, eBay has really kind of pushed for people to do a 90-day return window. 90 days seems to be the sort of the industry standard a lot now. 30 days is just fine. Lots of people do 30 days. There's nothing wrong with that. You should detail your return policy. Now, if you're selling on Amazon, your FBA, you don't really have a choice because they determine this stuff for you. But everywhere else, you do get a choice. With Amazon, you're just sort of agreeing to their system, and then you're just going to follow along with what they do, and you'll get back your returns as you get them. That's just how things work. So you're not on a case by case basis deciding like a judge whether or not you're taking these returns on Amazon. You're gonna take them. They're just gonna happen. Um, Now on eBay it's a little bit different, but on eBay, you have to keep people happy for sure, just as much as anywhere else. So you do want to take returns because you don't want to get negative feedback. And a negative feedback can cause you a lot more damage than, let's say, the loss that you would have on one item. Now, if you're selling $5,000 items and somebody wants to return something to you, but they want to, you think they broke it or they're trying to pull a fast one on you or something like that, then maybe that's time. That's the time you don't just bend to that, because there are scammers online, and they will manipulate returns, and quite frankly, you will get things back that aren't what you sent out, and that's just the risk of doing business too. There's scammers out there. You do want to try to catch them. They are not that hard to catch, but kind of disregard your fears when you're making a return policy, because just really understand that it's a very small margin of your customer returns that are going to come back. I've seen a lot of sellers who are in non-clothing categories, and they play with about like 1 to 2% of their total sales ever come back. Now, in clothing, it's a little bit more, and that can just vary. That really depends. If it's custom clothing, a lot less, because the clothing issue for returns when you're selling online is really a matter of people not knowing if things fit, because you can't really gauge that through a computer. So understand that you're going to have higher return rates if you're selling clothing. But anyway, also, Amazon does have seller standards in place for you as a seller. You have to maintain a certain level of customer returns. Now, you can't have a 50% return rate, because that's ridiculous. Either what you're that means that either what you're selling is bad, or you're selling people something that isn't what they thought they were buying, right? And Amazon doesn't want a seller who says they're selling $100 watch and they're actually shipping customers rocks in a box. And people are ticked off and they want to return, and they're declaring that it's fraud and all this stuff. And those things throw red flags for Amazon. So you can't do that. You have to make sure that you're under a certain standard, and I'll be able to get you those stats as well. And they're ever changing. They are pretty strict, but they're very, very doable. And if you're FBA, you'll have like no problem dealing with these standards on Amazon. They do have tough standards, but they're pretty easy to meet. If you're fulfilling things yourself, they're a little bit harder. That's just the straightforward of it. So now, when you get these customer returns back, understand that it's not a total loss. When you get something back that is barely used, or it's just an open box item, what you can do a lot of times is you can go and you can sell it as a used item on Amazon, right? As long as it's in decent condition. Or you can go to eBay and you can just sell it secondhand, put it up for an auction, something like that. Now, if you're getting 1% of everything back, understand that maybe 1% of that 1% will actually be like a damaged beyond repair good that you just can't turn into cash. Now, this will give you a little bit more effort, but you'll be able to get rid of it. But don't be afraid of it. Make sure that you give your customers a good return policy. Give them 90 days. Don't give them, just you can return it for any reason at any point in time type thing. Don't promise anything like that. Give and then also take in certain situations. If you sold somebody something that you had on the listing that it was a red item and they got a blue item, well, you need to make that right. Now, if they got it and it's red and they say, well, it's not red enough, well, you need to make the call there to say, hey, this is a buyer's remorse situation, and we told you that it was red, so you owe us 15% restocking fee. Or, you just brush them off and just understand that you're not going to deal with that many of those type of people. So I hope this helped kind of craft your overall return policy. You will have to put your return policy everywhere you're online. It's just required. You're going to need to put it on every marketplace and also your site, so people know what's going on there. And just take care of your customers. Even if it's something that they made up, that they did, try to just take them and mold them into the best of a situation as you can. Just understand that there's not going to be that many people who do this. Not, if everyone's trying to return every order you ship out, you're doing something wrong. You need to go back to the drawing board. So anyways, I hope this helped, and thanks for watching.